Hello, everybody. Welcome again. Another edition of 18 Minutes with 180 Markets. Friends, and I really call you friends, you know, first and foremost, we are really investors. And as investors, we're always looking for those investments that have low risk, big reward, plus momentum. Those are the caveats, or those are the items that we use. Friends, I'm really glad that we could bring you today one of those investment ideas where 180 Markets is personally going to invest. Australian Vanadium. AVL is the ticker, and we are joined by Managing Director, Vincent Algar. Vincent, with that introduction, welcome to 18 Minutes with 180 Markets.
Hi, Greg. Good to be here.
Vincent, it always starts with people. Tell us a little bit about your background. How did you get to where you are today?
Hi, Greg. It's not a very long story, but I feel it's quite long in the end. I'm a South African. Everyone will hear that. Came over to Australia nearly 26 years ago and really started my work here after being an underground gold mine geologist, but started my work here in consulting and mining services work. I'm a resource geologist by background, so very interested in what's in the ground and determining what it actually is and getting it into that resource phase. That's the exciting part for me. And I was lucky enough to list a company, be called in to help list a company with Atlas Iron as a spin out in late with 2007 and 8. And from that time, I've been involved with junior companies. It's been a great journey. It lets you really test your skills across the whole spectrum. But as a resource geo, you're always looking to take that discovery hole through to a resource that's something you can actually mine. I think it's really important from my point of view as an underground mine geo, really wanted to get back to the objective of running a mining company. And that's where AVL and the opportunity with AVL came to me. I like the rocks. I saw the opportunity as one of the world's best vanadium deposits that we could get ourselves into. And that's proved the case with the work we've done. So that's a potted history, but very much the geologist in the room with a very keen eye on determining things to a mineable level.
Absolutely. And Vincent, vanadium, can you just speak, and maybe not quite so much from the geo point of view, maybe from a high level also, what makes it so important?
Yeah, so vanadium is a critical mineral on a number of different countries' lists. In particular, the US, Japan, Korea, Australia, the UK, and all the European Union. It is a critical mineral. And why is it a critical mineral? Because vanadium is used in the making of steel and critical steel products, not only tools, but also high-end steels that are used in military applications. And it's also used in the making of rebar steel, the stuff we use in construction. Now, the other reason that vanadium is critical to the world's mineral list is that there's not a lot of it being mined, and China controls 60% of the market of this metal. They produce it and they consume it. So it's very much the swing player in the game. They use all the vanadium that they produce, and when they need more, they get it from outside. There's only 3 operating primary vanadium mines in the world. 2 of those are in South Africa and 1 is in Brazil. And that, in addition, that adds to the criticality of the metal. So it really falls in that place. One other addition to the criticality of vanadium is it's been added to by its use as a battery metal. Vanadium is used in a thing called the vanadium redox flow battery, which is a large grid storage capacity invention. It's at the commercial level. It was invented here in Australia, and it's reaching a critical point as we shift towards using more renewables on our grids, and it is a perfect application to counter lithium. So its criticality is matched by that. So it's a really important market, and it's really underserviced by new mines.
Absolutely. And I think that, you know, for better or for worse, obviously there's a lot of trade tension these days. We don't know exactly what's going to happen. In our mind, and maybe that's a good segue into AVL specifically, our mine here in Australia. Can you just talk about it a little bit more, other than obviously being in Australia alone could certainly be a huge value enhancer, but just get into the details a little bit, please.
Well, Western Australia is a great place to do business, and as it turns out, it's got some really good vanadium deposits in it. We're very comfortably being in the best in the world in terms of new development. The mine is located in a major corridor for mining development in the Midwest. It's adjacent to the port. We're located in a position where we can take advantage of the lower gas prices and the port infrastructure. And the test work we've been doing over the last 2 years has put us in a position to be quite unique in terms of our opportunity to become a low-cost producer. There is a capital cost to doing that. Obviously, there are not many vanadium mines in the world, but we're very comfortable that the deposit itself, geologically, process-wise, is actually delivering some really good goals. And our announcements over the last 6 to 12 months have shown we're really in the good space. We're quite innovative here, not in a dangerous sense. We're innovative in a very safe sense. We're taking a very conservative approach to our work because we've seen a lot of mining projects blow up due to not doing their pilot work properly. So our focus really is on doing definitive pilot work. Our couple of months now that we're working on is finishing our bankable feasibility study. The objective with that is to have a conservative output that is easy to pass through bankable feasibility due diligence. That is our key objective, and that is what we'll be spending a lot of our effort on over the coming months. But we do have some upsides besides that in the company.
Yeah, absolutely. And I say, you're talking about, laying down the groundwork. Recently, you have had a slew of good announcements. And as I alluded to before, us as investors, we look for those positive announcements because that really is the signal. Otherwise, you can get stuck in what I call a value trap, but you have momentum too. I mean, an offtake agreement you've signed in, mining lease, the Coates transaction, just even today, I think it was either today or yesterday. Can you just speak a little bit about the last 30 days and what they've been like for you?
Yeah, look, I think in our discussions with many shareholders, we have this, they look at you and they think, oh, you're treading water, but you're like the duck, right? You're always doing stuff under the surface. And so sometimes those things come good all at once. And that's really, we've been working on a lot of things over time. And in the last few weeks, triggering first off with the mining lease. So the mining lease grant is really critical and pivotal for the company. So we've now got 21-year granted tenure on a mining lease basis for our mine and development of that mine. So that's really important. That's our entire, not even our entire, 90% of our resource there ready to be developed and part of our feasibility study work. So that's the core. That's really triggered off the interest and the value regeneration, re-rating in our stock for the last while. In addition to that, our interest in the battery side through our Vincents subsidiary has been driven by two particular deals. One, a sales agreement with a European company called Cellcube. They make some of the best sort of raw, how do I call it? Vorsprung technique, call it what you like, really high quality German, European made battery products in the world in terms of a flow battery. And we've been using one of these down in Busselton at a client for 4 years now. This thing is so rock solid, right? So we're very comfortable selling their flow batteries. Obviously, the purpose of selling more flow batteries is to use more vanadium. We then signed a deal with a Chinese company which makes domestic level flow batteries. These are much smaller because flow batteries are scalable to any size. So the smaller flow battery is something that you or I or any of your investors or other people can then look at putting in their backyards to soak up all their solar instead of selling it out to the grid for really low prices. So there's great impact there. And that's had an overlap of including offtake with both of those discussions, growing that view. And then in the background, we've had this opportunity with the Coates license. And the Coates license,
about that. Yeah.
Vanadium deposit, we picked it up a few years ago for vanadium. And to be completely honest, we were looking at it as a vanadium project until early this year when the Chalice results started to come out. Cassini have already discovered platinum and palladium up near New Norcia a few years ago, but it never really had the same impact that Chalice has had. So when we re-looked at the geology and we put out some recent stuff, even this last 10 days, the detail of the geology really seems to be in conjunction with that Chalice discovery. The rocks, the exploration before is very similar, and our review of the geology shows that we're in a very good spot there to push it along. It is analogous and well worth the exploration effort that we plan to put into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And for people that don't know, can you just give us, from an extremely high level, approximately what's the AVL market cap? What do you think the project could be worth? And then also, what's Chalice's market cap around these days?
Yeah, look, I think just looking at the comparisons, our market cap is around the 43 mark or just under 50 million, probably around the 40 mark. Let's call it that conservatively. We've felt that our market cap with a fully permitted project should be around the $200 or $300 million mark. And that's just a simple comparison with other projects. For example, in the UK, or we compare ourselves to two producing companies, one in the UK, Bushveld Minerals, and one in Canada called Largo Resources. We compare ourselves to those. So Largo is producing at roughly the same rate that we would plan to produce at. That's got a market cap of just under $1 billion Canadian. So we're really looking at those as those milestones. Looking at the extreme value that you see at Chalice right now from this exploration discovery point of view, setting the vanadium aside for a minute, on almost a similar early package of ground in terms of strike length, they've generated a market cap of, what's that, over $700 million, $750 million.
And just remind us again, what's your market cap?
It's around 40.
Right. So friends, I think you can see what I call the extreme value gap, but also how AVL also has the momentum from announcements recently too. Because again, having one without the other is only half the battle. You need to have both. Vincent, as far as what would you like to see ideally over the next 6 to 12 months? What would be the key milestones in your mind for success?
Yeah, look, there's probably three things in there that are our core for success. Obviously, getting our project really well advanced to the bankable stage. We need to get some bank interest in this and key cornerstone investment in the project itself. It's inevitable of a project this size, so that's really our objective. We need to achieve that with offtake agreements as well as key partner agreements on investment side and bank investment. So that's really nailing down the project so that those types of investors who are coming in are going to be comfortable. That's one of our core objective on the project itself, and we're very comfortable with that pathway. The second thing is obviously environmental approvals and getting all those nailed down. Then on coats, we want to get out there and do some airborne electromagnetics. We're extremely excited about that opportunity. Get out there and confirm the geochemistry as well as the airborne electromagnetic opportunities that may be out there, just to bring that home as what that package is really worth to us. And then on the Vincents side, on the battery side, we want to really grow that business and start to put some flesh on the bone, both at the domestic battery level and at the larger battery level. There's some huge opportunities in the battery market in a number of different niches out in the energy world, and we want to grow that business. We've got the right people in the team to push that ahead. We think there's huge value opportunity there. Where we're doing the battery side, we want to focus on growing the vanadium market. And the big opportunity for investors, I think, is the leverage to the current low vanadium price. Because in spite of all the setting, Greg, the vanadium price is actually quite low.
Yeah.
And that leverage, if you look at it 2 years ago, 17, 18, it was $30 a pound. It's $6 a pound right now, right? And so there's huge leverage just in there. And if you look at our share price history, when that price moved, and we were much further back in our project development, that created massive leverage. And as with all commodities, if you get a good exposure to a commodity and it moves, you're in the right place. So we feel that global geopolitics is really open right now. The US and Europe and the UK and some of the Asian markets that are non-Chinese are really depressed in terms of their activity, but China's going like a bull, right? So yeah, when the rest of the world gets out of this funk and starts to develop, there's going to be a rebalancing of the vanadium market, and that's inevitably going to lead to demand in the Western world and other Asian markets. When that goes up, the vanadium price is going to move, and we're very comfortable with that. We think it aligns very well with our project delivery timetable.
Yeah, and we think also that batteries are certainly in what I'd call structural bull market. I mean, I think that everybody would agree there are going to be a lot more of them over the next decade than fewer. So we have a number of different ways to win as far as our perspective. Vincent, we know it's an incredibly busy day, and thank you for sharing your time with us. In closing, are there any closing thoughts for the audience?
Look, I think that people need to look at the company, its approach to doing things in terms of quality, and knowing that mining projects are not simple things, but they need to be done with rigor and properly. But when they do that, they can deliver massive multiples for the investors that pick the right company, the right management, and the right experience base to get where they want to go.
And Vincent, thank you so much. That's exactly, friends, what we see here. We see the right project, the right commodity, the right management team. As you can hear, Vincent's a no-nonsense guy that gets things done and was one of the major attractions. Vincent, again, thank you for your time.
Thanks, Greg.